Good evening and welcome to Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation. My name is Donna Gray Banks and I am your host. Our special guest tonight is Vincent Taylor, author of the Cornbread series and I Quit 10 Strategies to Increase Student Engagement for K through 12 Teachers. Thank you, Vincent, for being here on Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation.
Thank you for having me, Ms. Donna. It is always a pleasure to be here with
Always a pleasure.
Yes.
Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation is brought to you by Isla's Diamonds LLC, Lee's Press, Milton McCulloch, author of Love and Emancipation, and a Dante production, which will feature dueling saxophones on July 16th at Cinematique on Beach Street in Daytona Beach. And of course, the Fresh Book Festival is in February 22, 23, 24, in the year of 2024, in the beautiful city of Daytona Beach. I want everybody to look out for the National Black Book Festival, which will be held in the UK. Dr. Simon is a part of that, and Mr. Bunn, Curtis Bunn's book festival is coming up in Atlanta, and it's called the, Mama Tony, help me.
National Book Club Conference.
The National Book Club Conference in Daytona Beach. Mr. Curtis Bunn is the director and CEO of that book festival. Reach out to those people. Make sure you become a part of the lineup to be a part, whether you can be a part online or not online, or just go visit. So thank you. Always look at my Fresh Book Festival page because we kind of keep the literacy engagements on that page, and let's all be involved because literacy is a legacy, right? So we all need to be together on that. So thank you. So this conversation is being recorded. Good evening, Vincent. Please give us a brief background.
So I am Vincent Taylor. Let's see. I've written a few books, written 10 books. 9 are for children, and I have one for teachers, professional development. I love poetry. I am a family man. I have 2 beautiful daughters, a wife, and outside of all of those things, when it comes to my profession, I am a teacher first.
For?
Elementary education.
For how many years?
Oh, for 28 years. 28 years, yes.
28 years.
I've had an opportunity to hold several positions in the school district, last being an instructional coach, to give support to teachers in the school, whether it be mathematics. Well, the focus is mathematics. But again, still just a teacher first.
I know, right? Hats off to you, Mr. Taylor. And it seems like you have the magic touch when it comes to, I've seen it in action in when you come to Daytona Beach and you talk about things that I forgot about, synonyms and acronyms and all. And the kids are so engaged, and thank you for that, because these children that you're dealing with, sometimes people throw them away, right?
Yes.
And they are just as engaged and just as smart as other children. And I thank you for recognizing that, which is so important. And thank you for coming to Daytona Beach we haven't decided. So we're going to settle on 7.5 years.
7.5 years. That sounds pretty good. Yes.
We are so excited about having you back this Thursday, the 29th of July at the Cherry Center in Daytona Beach. Yeah, and so the name has changed, but it's the same place. So I don't want to scare you about coming.
Right.
They just.
But let me just say, I'm so grateful to you because Daytona is like my second home. When I first started doing presentations with Cornbread in Florida, Daytona was the first place I ever gone. So thank you for giving me my start in doing presentations in Florida. Yes.
We're excited about that. Yeah. So we don't mind being the first.
That's right.
We just don't mind. We just don't mind as long as we're not the last. We don't mind being the first. So thank you. It has always been, first of all, and I just want to give the audience a backstory. This gentleman used a male protagonist in his books. And so if you know children's books, there are not a lot of male protagonists as the lead character. And so he went out on a limb to bring a young man in to make sure that he got involved. And we're going to talk about that down the line. But just to say that 15 years ago, or whenever he decided to develop this character, this was not something that was state of the art. People just didn't do it. They might have done it, but it's certainly not for a melanated young man. And I thank you for that too, right? Because that's so important. So can you discuss all the books briefly? No. Tell the audience how you decided on the series Cornbread. I know the story, but tell the audience how the character became the name that he is.
So there's two answers to that. I could tell you how he got his name as a character, or I could tell you why I call him Cornbread, which is
you can tell us both.
Okay. All right. So he got his name from he was at the dinner table, and as he was eating, he didn't like all the food, especially cornbread. So he found himself throwing cornbread underneath the table, the dinner table, and his grandmother, saw him do it. And from that day, she's the one who gave him his name, Cornbread.
Okay.
So that's how he got his name. But the reason I came up with the word cornbread was I wanted to find something that was captivating. In reading or writing, we're talking about writing that hook. So I said, well, I could call the character Vincent. And I was like, nah, that's boring. So not Vincent. So I thought about my own childhood and I said, what was it that I came up with? And it was very close-knit family. And we always had Sunday dinners. And at the Sunday dinners, though the food would change, the one thing that remained constant was cornbread. So I thought, you know what?
Yeah.
A good name for my character.
Yes, cornbread was always a staple at Sunday dinner. Always. Yeah. And so, I know you have several books, but tell us about the first. You can tell us about all of them if we can. Just a little bit about the first one and something that you're working on now. I know that they all pretty much have lessons. So let's start from the beginning and go to the end.
Okay, so the first book is Cornbread Runs for Class President. And each one of the books, like you said, has a positive character education trait. So in the first one, he's competing against, he would like to say his nemesis, which is the smartest girl in the classroom, Simone, and they're competing for the class presidency. And in that particular book, I focus on sportsmanship. So of course you got to read the book to see who wins.
Right.
The second book is Cornbread Has a Bad Habit. This book was very important to write because teaching in urban schools, I see it so much. Students love to beat on the desk. They love to beat. And they're constantly getting in trouble for it. Of course, we have to have guidelines. There's rules. So that's not something we want to happen during class. However, a lot of the students were getting in trouble in the sense of being disrespectful. But I took the approach that from my experience, the music is just within them.
Right.
And they just want to get it out. So there's a lesson though in that book. It's called Self-Control. It's about self-control, but it's not a punishment to Cornbread. He's the person who's constantly beating, but just wanted that lesson to be conveyed not only to the students, but for the teachers. So they'll know every student that beats in your class, they're not trying to be disrespectful. It's just that music is within them and they're just trying to get it out. The third book which is the most popular book, Cornbread Faces a School Bully. Now, I will tell you now, that book, for everyone who's on this Zoom right now, I promise you, if you read that book, you will not figure out the end until the end. Until the end, I promise you. I was very careful in how I wrote that, but that book deals with two things. It's courage, but it's also communication. And I don't want to give, the plot away, but communication was huge, huge in that book. Fourth book is Cornbread and the Stolen Diamond Watch. This tests his integrity because
I really like that one too. I mean,
yeah, it tests his integrity because his best friend goes into the store with him, and they both see this diamond crusted watch, and Cornbread wants it. So, skip forward a couple of weeks, we see this watch in Roscoe's, which is his best friend. We see it in his room. So we have to figure out, hey, what happened here? Did somebody steal it? Did we buy it? What happened? So integrity was a very big part of that book. The last two, Cornbread and the Healthy Food Challenge, I thought that was going to be my hardest book to write because I wanted to, be socially, I wanted to be intentional about this book in the sense that, okay, I know students love cornbread. I know that they love the humor and everything, but I have a platform now and I have to speak on things that I'm aware of. And, diabetes, that's very huge in our community. So I made sure that I touched on that issue or that disease in the book.
Right.
But it turned out to be one of my best books. So I was able to maintain all the other attributes from keeping it humor, keeping it suspenseful. So and that book deals with, of course, determination. And then the last book, which we just came out with about 2 years ago, Cornbread Has a Secret Admirer. That book deals with confidence. Confidence.
As a young man. Yeah.
Yeah, as a young man, I dedicated that book to my father. He just passed, a few years ago. And there's a lot of lessons that Cornbread's father gives in that book. And I attribute all of that 100% to the things that I was taught by my dad.
And so you came up with Cornbread, and how did you know how he was going to look? Tell me how you got to that. You wake up one morning and said, oh, he's going to look like this, or did you go through certain renditions of it? How did that happen?
Yeah, we went through about 3 different cornbreads, if you will. I'm not an artist, so I pretty much left that to my illustrator, Adolfo Latore. And, he submitted 3 different cornbreads to me. And I was like, okay, yeah, I like that one, but I want that one to have this and this characteristic. So we sort of pieced it together, and, Cornbread is who he is now.
And the colors.
Oh, the red. No significance in that.
Oh, okay.
Sort of happened, yeah.
Yeah.
It was funny because, he has the red and the yellow.
Oh, yeah.
I told my mom, I was like, you know what? I think I need to get another cornbread outfit. And I think I'm gonna make it green and yellow. She was like, no, you can't do that. He's known for the red. I was like, it's just clothes. She's like, no, Mickey Mouse has the same outfit. So you need to keep Cornbread in the same outfit. So,
well, Bethune-Cookman just takes it and says, "Oh, it's maroon and gold."
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So they just decided to adopt it, right?
Right.
Right here in BCC country, BCU country at this
point. Right.
And making it, I touched on it a few minutes ago, but making your a character, the lead being the protagonist, a male. Not, I know that you're a male, but that does not mean that that's something that you would automatically do. Tell me why you felt that was important.
Oh man, it was very personal to me.
Yeah.
First of all, at the time I had been teaching, so I started teaching in 1997. And from day one, our classes were gender-based. So in the morning, I would teach all boys. In the afternoon, I teach all girls. And my boys would always come to me and say, Mr. Taylor, you always say we need to read, but we don't have no books. All these girly books or scientific like books, science books. So I wanted to give my boys something that they could identify with. And, the data says when students can see themselves represented in text, it increases their academic achievement.
Absolutely.
But you know what? It really hits a little more personal to me. in the sense that when I was growing up in elementary school, it was not great memories. You know, I was the kid when it was time to read in elementary, I would read like this when the book was in, and you know, all the kids, they started to snicker, and the teacher did her best to control that. But again, you feel it. Even if you don't hear it, you feel it.
Absolutely.
So I said, you know what? I wanted to do something where students wouldn't experience what I experienced when I was that age. So the best thing that I felt that I could do was give them a book that they could relate to. And that's important because, you know, talking about my struggles in reading comprehension, there was one book that my mom got for me that I fell in love with. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't even know what the book was about, but the front book, the cover had this African American cowboy. He had his he was a cowboy, had his gun and holster, and oh my gosh, like I would give $10,000 just to hold that book because I felt like that book changed my life. I I think that's what made me want to read, even though I wasn't a huge reader then. Just seeing that character did so much for me.
And you don't even realize it to your older how that sits with you. And I've never been a TV fan. I still don't have a TV. But the one character that would make me watch TV was the drummer on Josie and the Pussycats, because it was the first time a female, black female character was portrayed in a cartoon.
Mm,
And
yeah,
she was the drummer, right? So you really remember those things. Yeah.
yeah. Representation, it really counts. It really matters.
You said something interesting, and this is not one of your questions, but you said you taught boys in the morning and girls in the afternoon, right?
Yes.
Is it still that way?
That depends on the school.
Oh
That was
man,
just
that should
something
come
we did.
back. That
Yeah,
should
yeah. They
certainly come
loved it.
back. Yes.
They loved it. I loved it. And that was the beginning of me, you know, working with all my males. I said, you know what? Let me see if I could come up with something just for the guys. And that was the birth of my mentoring group, the Young Gentlemen's Group.
Mm.
So I want to credit that setup, that framework sort of gave that idea to do that.
And it's interesting that they put most of the subjects that might be a little harder in the morning for the boys
Mhm.
and then switched it, right? Because their attention span is probably, even at younger ages,
Right.
girls' attention spans are a little longer. Nice.
Exactly. Yeah.
God, I wish they would go back to that.
Yeah, I missed that.
Yeah, and they don't have anything to compete with except themselves, right?
That's
Not little girls' attention,
right. Right.
nothing to kind of, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it really
yeah,
worked out well.
yeah. Hey, everybody, we would like to go back to that. Just let you know.
Let's do it. Gender
Yeah,
based.
yeah. So let's talk about your writing style. And first of all, if you're a teacher, when do you find time to write?
Oh man.
Second
First,
of all, is it you do it in stages and scenes? Do you do an outline? Tell us your process. Because listen, writing a book for adults is one thing. Writing a book for children, you have to be so succinct,
yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
can't really let them think too long about what you want them to get. It's got to be, yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, so my process, first of all, finding the time, that's just it. You have to find the time. And I tell, you know, different people that I mentor who wants to write a book, don't try to find an hour because if you are living in the world and I'm sure you're very busy. Okay. So there's 1,000 things always going on. So don't try to find an hour, just find 15 minutes. And you'll find that 15 minutes being stretched to 16 minutes, 20 minutes, but try to write 15 minutes a day. And within those 15 minutes, you can do the first stage that I implement, you know, when I write a book. So for every cornbread book, I start with a regular sheet of paper. I put my little circle and I put my little lines, and I know what chapter 1 is going to be about, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I outline it in that way, but
Wow.
it's still an intriguing process to write the book, because in those bubbles, I know the main idea of each chapter, right? But I don't know everything Cornbread is going to say to Roscoe. And I definitely don't know everything Roscoe, who's very mischievous, what he's going to say to Simone. So I look forward to writing. Again, I know how it's going to end, but I look forward to writing so I can see what those
The
characters are.
dialogue.
And yeah. And a lot of people be
Is
like,
this freehand or is this on the computer? Are you
oh,
still
no, I
free?
have to write it on freehand first. Oh, yeah. I'm
Wow.
old school. Every book that I've written, I have a notebook, a composition book. Yeah, I have to write it that way first.
Wow. And no real outline?
No, no,
And
no, just
what's the
whatever.
average? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
What's the average time per
Oh,
book? A year?
so now it's different. The first Cornbread book, because I was learning my characters and everything was so new to me. It took me about a year to write. Now I can write a Cornbread book after I have the outline, which takes, let's say that takes a day. I typically spend 2 days per chapter. So let's say in 2 weeks, I can write a Cornbread book. But where it gets interesting is this. It's always hard to let it go. So I'm finished in 2 weeks, but I may edit, revise, and this is before I give it to the editor now. I'm revising like literally 5 months.
Yeah.
And I would stop and say, well, you know what? People don't know what I was going to write. Let me just give them what I have. I mean, it sounds good, but every time I go back and revise and I add that little line or this little scene here, I hear people commenting like, oh, I like this. This is one of my favorite scenes. So I have to go back. One of my mentors, Eric Cork, he has this saying, never fall in love with your first draft. So regardless of how good my first draft is, I would never release it to the public. Never.
And what's okay, we're at the point where he has a crush, Cornbread's getting a little older. So what can we expect for the next book?
You mean after the crush?
Yes.
So I'm actually at a crossroad because I'm trying to decide what that next book will be. Yeah, so I actually don't know. I'm very musically inclined. Cornbread loves music, so I was thinking about having Cornbread
Start a band.
Well, just go to the recording studio, and probably come up with a group.
Yeah, that would be nice.
A rapping group, yeah.
Yeah. When you talk about the young man banging on things, I had a son who banged on things. So, it was always coming up to the school, he just won't, I just bought him a drum set. I said, listen, you can bang all you want when you get home, right? Which was the best thing I ever could have done. I guess finding their talent in the music, whatever that is, to kind of help them get a stretch on those things. So then unpack the decision, because you didn't have nothing else better to do, first. Unpack your decision as to why you decided to write I Quit, 10 Strategies to Increase Engagement for K through 12 Teachers.
Yeah, so if instruction isn't engaging, I quit. That book had to be written because before there was Cornbread, it was me being a teacher, and it was all the things that allowed me to be successful in the classroom. And being in the school district now for this long, I've had an opportunity to see a lot of impeccable teaching from other teachers, but I also had a chance to see some teachers struggle. And I just wanted to share those 10 strategies that allowed me to engage students. I just wanted to share that with the world. So it's not the Holy Grail to say this is the 10. It's not that at all, but it was for me. Yeah. So it was just um, wanting to share those strategies with students because Cornbread falls under one of my strategies, and that is being culturally responsive. I want to say this is probably one of the most missing attributes in a classroom. You know, you can go to many professional developments, but the one that you want to really make sure is in your class is you being a culturally responsive teacher. I'm teaching in a school with 98, 99% of my students are African American. The data says, the research says, students are, they perform better when they see themselves. I have to use that. You know, that's part of being a teacher, not just teaching from the curriculum, but questioning what is put before us. So every curriculum that is put before me, I don't question it to the point where I say, well, I'm not going to do it. I question it to the point that says, this is good information, but I know what my students need. So I modify the curriculum and I incorporate what needs to be there so that they feel a part of my classroom.
Now, are these 10 strategies something that should be given to student teachers or teachers that are already vested in the system from the beginning?
Period. No, most people would say it's for beginning teacher, novice teachers. However, true story, 2 years ago, so out of my 28 years, I've never had, well, I was about to say I've never had a tough year, a hard year, a bad year. I'll say bad year. 2 years ago, or last year was that year because I was stretched in so many directions. I was trying to be a math coach. I was trying to be a fourth grade teacher. I was trying to do too many things. And it wasn't, you know, no fault of my own. It was because of teacher shortage. So that happened. So I was just trying to do what I could to support my principal, my AP, my school, because that's what, you know, we're supposed to do. But it became very, very stressful. And oh my gosh, did I just lose my point? So hold on, what was your question? Oh my God.
Oh no, your story was really good.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So, okay.
Okay.
All right, so.
Oh, you know I'm older than you, so I can't bring it back. I'm sorry. Story.
Oh gosh, I hate that because well, let me just say.
Okay.
That was a very challenging year, and I've never had a challenging year outside of that year.
Oh, I asked you about whether the 10 strategies should be given to a novice teacher.
There you go.
Or
there we go.
yeah,
there
and you were saying Perfect. 2 years ago. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right.
It took me a minute.
So I said all of that to say out of all those years, they were good except that 1 year. But in that year, I found myself sitting at my desk one day. And as I was sitting at my desk, I picked up my book, If Instruction Isn't Engaging, I Quit. And I picked it up just being funny, like, all right, let me see what I wrote 7 years ago. Now, because I wrote this book 7 years ago. I said, let me see what I wrote 7 years ago. So as I'm reading, Donna, do you know tears start to fall from me?
Oh my God.
Because the things that I was saying in that book,
you weren't implementing.
I wasn't implementing them.
Dang.
Oh my gosh, I even hate talking about it because I felt so bad. Now, don't get me wrong. It wasn't that I wasn't doing or giving good instruction. That was happening. But my students didn't know what they could have been getting. I knew what they could have been getting.
You had the tools right here in the box.
I had the tools,
but you weren't using them, right?
It was stress. It was a lot. So so the book is not just for novice teachers. You know, we're 26-year-old teachers.
Yeah.
Teaching for 26 years.
It's like my dad asked me bring me a flathead screwdriver. Yeah, I said, well, can't you do the butter knife? So I brought the butter knife and he was like, no.
Right.
You need the right tool.
Need the right tools.
You need the right tools, right? Oh,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then you decided to publish it.
Yes. Yeah. Then I decided to publish and again just put it out there as these are 10 ways that I engage my students. And I talk about, engaging students by number one. Do you know what the number one thing is, in my opinion, or has been my number one? I'll say that.
I
Building
would
a
say
rapport.
getting to know the student first.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. Building a rapport.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Building a rapport. If you can build a rapport with students, it's almost hard for them to go against you. They want to respect you. So building that rapport has helped in the area of classroom management. It has helped in social, I'm sorry, social emotional learning. It has helped in that area. It just has helped the culture of the classroom. So that's number one. So that's one way that we can engage our students. Another one is to empower our students as teachers. We need to empower them. Many times the students are coming to us without all the tools to be ready to perform on a fourth grade level, if they're fourth graders. So those words that we give to them, you can do it, Donna. Come on, you are
right.
you want to be very specific about it. Not, oh, Donna, you're great. No, Donna, I've never seen anyone write a limerick the way that you have. I mean, the way that you put that poetry together with those stanzas, oh my gosh, it blows me away. And it makes them stick out their chest and say, yes, I am. But you as a teacher know how far they have to come, but it still helps. It helps tremendously.
Eunice Williams, that was a talker, right? So I had straight A's and then the merits and just running my mouth all the time, right? So she said, I need to find a way. I'm sure she said that to her. So to get me from talking so much, everybody would be through with their stuff and I would just. So she made me the reading circle, like a little badge, right? So when it was time for reading, I had my own little circle. But if I ran my mouth during the lessons, if I was done before everybody else, and then I couldn't do the reading circle. Right. And that was everything to me. So it was just finding what it was, right? Yeah. And I thank her. I'm sure she's passed by now, but Miss Williams, thank you very much for putting me in the reading circle because I just couldn't keep my mouth closed. But that's, getting the rapport with the students, right?
Yeah. And you know what? It's so important. When I got into the role as a math coach, my job was to, support teachers, right? And this one particular teacher, she was a novice teacher, and she struggled with classroom management big time. And she eventually left the profession. But I decided to, to talk to her. This is before she left, of course. So I talked with her. And first of all, the kids did not gel with her at all. So I went to talk to her one day after school. And would you believe I had probably one of the best conversations with a teacher I had ever had. And the ideas that she had for instruction blew my mind. But there was only one problem. I saw it. She never let the kids see it. She felt like I must be a teacher and I got to be this way. She never allowed students to see who she was as an individual. You can still be the teacher, but let's pour yourself into your classroom, is what I tell teachers. And you can do that and still maintain, the respect from your students.
When did you find out that a little music helps with math?
Oh, man.
I wish they would have had that for me because I'm still not really proficient. It takes me a long time to do a pro forma or a spreadsheet, because math is not my thing. But if somebody had put a beat behind it, I might have done
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Music is like the way to the heart, and music makes people smile.
When did you didn't realize that as a novice teacher? When did it just, or did you?
I did.
Oh,
I did.
man.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I did. I did. And the reason it's not like, oh, I got it going on like that. When I was in undergrad, we learned about the researcher Howard Gardner. He came up with the 7 multiple intelligences. And he spoke about the musical intelligence being one of the ways that students really learn, talk about the bodily kinesthetics. But I mean, when I read about him and read about his intelligences, I said, you know what, it really made sense.
Mhm.
Because when you see a student light up and smile just when the music comes on, that means you can do something with it. It doesn't only have to be for, social enjoyment. We can tie this into academics. And that's what I did with um, my first book. So a lot of people don't even know about my first book, which is not Cornbread. It's called Rhythmic Reading with Rap. And it teaches kids reading comprehension skills through hip hop music. That came out in 2001.
I had no
Cornbread came in,
idea.
Cornbread came in 2004.
Wow. That's really, I mean, I think if we, in all scenarios, if we just think about, I know some schools now that when you have a child who has maybe too much energy or ADHD or whatever in a classroom, they will send them to yoga
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and listen to jazz,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? To
Mm-hmm.
calm their spirits for like 30 minutes.
Right.
And they're different children for the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Why we cannot get there with these kids is just beyond me. It's just a matter of thinking just a little bit forward,
Right.
you
Right.
know? Oh man,
I
that's
agree. I agree. Yes.
so. I mean, is there anything else you would like to tell us? Anybody have a question for Vincent while he's here? So I know he will be on the road in 3 days coming to Daytona Beach. So if you
Yes.
have a
Yes.
question, put it in the chat room. I think there was one. Did you write cornbread earlier? Me? No,
I
I'm sure he wish he would have, but it's not here. Go ahead,
You know what?
Jen.
After I wrote it, then my library skills came back, and I'm like, Tony, that was so dumb. That was when you were.
Janice, you had a question?
yeah, no, I have so enjoyed listening to you, Mr. Vincent. But my question is, how much longer are you going to teach? And it would really sadden me to know that you won't be in the classroom because I can tell that you bring so much to the children that you serve.
So, Ms. Janice, let me tell you right now, you are not about to make me cry on this Zoom, okay? You're not going to do that.
That's
When
not
I when I tell you I love my students, I love being a teacher, and I can retire in a year and a half. So this, I don't know what to do. I'm literally at a crossroad because I love teaching, but I also love what I'm doing with my publishing company. So I'm gonna literally let God tell me what I need to do because I don't want to leave too early. I don't want to
And you
leave
don't want to leave too late
yeah, that's true. That is true.
because those 10 strategies could be put into workshops all over the country.
Gosh, yeah. Right. You're right. You're
That just
right.
might be a whole nother leg.
And
Right.
Mr. Vincent, let me tell you, for somebody who stayed there for 30 some years, no one will have to tell you when it's time to go.
Oh.
I mean, all around you, you can see your coworkers saying, I'm not coming back. I'm not signing my contract next year. But when that bubble comes on in your head, nobody has to tell you, and you get a glow. When I walked in and said to them, here's my resignation, they was like, you? But I had an epiphany. It was time for me to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it's time, you will know. Yeah, you make no sense of tears. You're gonna be a little sad.
Right,
So true.
right. But you can, let's
Go
see
ahead,
what,
go ahead, Patricia.
but you can also
when you do leave the public school, you can always go and develop a school in the community, Mr. Vincent.
Ooh. So when I go, I'm gone.
No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're
No,
not.
I'll still do the work in education, but you know, for the last 16 years, I've had an opportunity to work with the leadership, be on the leadership team. So I see a lot, and
Mhm.
I know a lot that has to happen to have a successful school.
Mm.
And when I officially can retire, I know I wouldn't want that kind of challenge. That's just,
No, you
yeah.
can do it. You can do it. Once it's all in your bones and all in your voice and everything. You're not gonna do it just like that. I'm sorry.
Okay. Right.
And plus the fact, I do agree that a workshop would be really good because I will need some help with my trying to write a children's book for the handicapped.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, definitely, I'll make sure you have my information, and I'd be happy to answer any questions I can to assist or support you.
Well, in that vein, how do people reach
So you can go to my website, www.vincenttaylor.com, or you can say cornbreadseries.com. All places go to the same places. Both of those go to the same places. Social media, Vince the Writer.
Mm.
Vince the
Have a
Writer?
presence on Vince the Writer. No space, yes. Vince the Writer.
Okay. So we ask all of our guests to give us a pearl of wisdom. We'll take one from you right now.
I would have to say, so trying to see, I have two.
Okay, I'll take them both.
You take both? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So my mantra is one that I would hope that all educators would adopt and make it their own. And that is, my job as an educator is not complete until my students fall in love with learning.
Mm.
So that's one. The other thing is the mantra that I share with my students every year since I've been a teacher, since 1997. And not only applies to students, but adults, myself. And that is, there's no problem too hard for me to solve. It only takes time and determination.
Time and determination.
Determination.
Wow.
Well, it's going to take a little time, but you
Mhm.
have to be determined to do it as well.
Well, we thank you for being on Zoom and on a fresh conversation. And I will see you in a couple of days. I'm so excited. I get excited still.
Well, thank you for having
To
me.
see you and Cornbread and just, see the development of the children who just really enjoy you being there. So thank you very much. Thank you, ladies, for being with me almost every Monday night. I certainly appreciate it. And when the lights go out and the cell phone towers go down, all you have left is a flashlight and a good book. So thank you, everybody. Good night. Thank you, Vincent. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, ladies.
Good night.
All right.